The kind of storm that makes cities hold their breath rolled over Westbridge that night. The kind of storm that whispers that something is about to go terribly wrong. By the time the first thunder cracked over the skyline, Detective Rowan Hale already felt it. The shift in the air, the promise of a case that wouldn't let him sleep for nights to come. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to Inspector Vale so you don't miss the next chapters. Big things are coming. Lightning flashed across the windows of Hale's loft, illuminating stacks of case files and the half-finished mug of cold coffee beside him. Rowan sat curled in his battered leather chair, flipping through an archival book on obscure criminal methodologies of the early modern era. His concentration was absolute, the kind of razor-sharp focus only years on the job could carve into a person. Across from him, Dr. Adrian Mercer, longtime partner in both investigations and arguments, rubbed his temples after a marathon shift in the emergency wing of St. Enoch's Hospital. His dark hair was disheveled, his scrubs wrinkled, and the exhaustion in his eyes said he had treated more tragedy today than any one man should. "Rowan," Adrian muttered through a sigh, "I swear you bought this loft only because it used to belong to some mythic detective from the 1890s. You love your symbolism." Rowan looked up from the book, allowing a faint smirk to break through the seriousness etched on his face. "Coincidence, mostly, but I can't deny the place has a certain energy." Before Adrian could respond, Rowan's phone vibrated on the table. One glance at the caller ID wiped away every trace of lightness. Detective Inspector Mara Ellery, and at this hour, nothing good ever came from her. Rowan answered. Adrian watched as his friend's posture straightened, the way it always did when the world tilted toward trouble. Rowan asked short, clipped questions, the kind he asked when his mind was already assembling a puzzle in real time. When the call ended, he stood. "Grab your coat," he said. Adrian was already halfway to the door. "What happened?" "Owner of a boutique antiquities shop in Old Town," Rowan replied. "Name's Bernard Locke, found dead an hour ago. Ellery says there are complications." 20 minutes later, their cab rolled to a stop along the rain-soaked cobblestones of the Old Town district. The storefront, Locke and Ledger Antiquities, glowed faintly behind police tape and murmuring officers fending off curious bystanders. D.I. Ellery, sharp-eyed and brisk as ever, greeted them beneath the awning. Her coat was soaked at the shoulders, her expression carved from stone. "Hale, Mercer, glad you made it." She gestured toward the shop. "You'll want to see this for yourselves." Inside, the store felt like a museum curated by someone who worshipped forgotten eras. Ivory figurines, tarnished silver, thick-bound folios, maps curled at the edges. But all of it became background noise the moment their eyes fell on the body. Bernard Locke, late 60s, immaculately dressed, sprawled near an antique display case, his expression frozen somewhere between surprise and terror. Adrian crouched immediately, the clinical focus sliding into place like a switch being flipped. "No external trauma," he murmured. "Pale discoloration, petechiae, possible asphyxiant or toxin." Rowan moved through the shop, absorbing every detail. A toppled ink jar on the counter, a shattered teacup near the register, a safe in the back wall left wide open and empty. "What's missing?" Rowan asked quietly. "According to his niece," Ellery replied, "a private collection, high-value set of Regency-era jewels Locke kept hidden from the public catalog." Rowan's eyes narrowed. "And she's here, upstairs giving her statement." "Then let's move," Rowan said. He didn't say it aloud, but Adrian could tell the detective had already locked onto something. The storm outside raged on, but inside the shop, the true storm was only beginning. The second floor of Locke and Ledger felt eerily quieter than the shop below. Soft lamplight spilled across a cramped office lined with inventory ledgers and brittle catalog binders. At the center of it all sat Evelyn Locke, Bernard's niece. Her hands wrapped so tightly around a mug of untouched tea that her knuckles had turned white. She was in her late 20s, auburn hair loosely pinned back, eyes rimmed red but fiercely composed, as if she refused to let grief decide the tone of the night. A silver tabby cat curled anxiously on her lap, swiveling its ears toward every unfamiliar sound. Rowan introduced himself and Adrian, taking a seat across from her. "Evelyn, I know tonight is a nightmare, but we need clarity to move fast. Walk us through your uncle's world." Evelyn nodded, stroking the cat with mechanical rhythm. Uncle Bernard was meticulous, careful. Everyone in the antiquities circle respected him. But 3 months ago, he became different, restless, distracted. He kept talking about a private collection he'd been expanding for years. Rare Regency pieces, some with aristocratic lineage. She swallowed hard. He stored them in a secure compartment in the shop. Hardly anyone knew it existed. Adrian leaned forward. "Who did know?" "Only me," she said, then hesitated. "And maybe one other. His former partner, Victor Harland. They built the shop together 30 years ago but split after a huge disagreement. Uncle Bernard never told me the details." Rowan exchanged a glance with Adrian, the kind of glance that silently said, "That's our next lead." "And the cat?" Rowan asked, eyeing the silver tabby now staring intently at him. "This is Rook," Evelyn said softly. "Uncle's shadow. He followed him everywhere, even found things he misplaced. Uncle used to joke that Rook had better instincts than half the appraisers in Westbridge." "Cats are natural pattern trackers," Adrian muttered. "Not impossible." Lightning flickered outside. The storm hadn't eased. If anything, it hammered the windows harder, as though insisting it had something to add to the investigation. Rowan shifted to the real pressure point. "Evelyn, was your uncle threatened recently? Anyone pressure him to sell the collection?" Her eyes darted to the window, then back to Rowan. "There was someone, a buyer from Brighton. Name, Thomas Redgrave. He offered an absurd amount of money, nearly triple market value, but Uncle refused. After that, Redgrave kept showing up, first polite, then insistent, then angry." Adrian exhaled. "And now the jewels are missing." "And my uncle is dead," Evelyn whispered. Before Rowan could ask more, Rook suddenly tensed, ears pointed toward the stairwell. A second later, D.I. Ellery appeared at the door, rainwater dripping from her coat. "We've got a development," she said. "Forensics found something behind the display case downstairs, a torn scrap of fabric. High-quality wool, tailored cut. Expensive. Doesn't match the victim." Rowan stood, instinct prickling. "And the pattern? Gray herringbone," Adrian frowned. "That's a fairly niche weave these days." Rowan was already forming a mental short list: dealers, collectors, private brokers. People who dressed like they knew the value of their own wardrobe. "We need to speak with Victor Harland," Rowan said, "first thing in the morning." "Already tracked his address," Ellery replied. "But there's more. Lock's safe wasn't just emptied, someone entered the correct code. No signs of forcing. This wasn't opportunistic theft." "It was surgical," Rowan said quietly. Evelyn clutched Rook tighter. "Are you saying the killer knew my uncle? Knew the code?" Rowan didn't answer directly. He didn't have to. The truth was already sitting heavy in the room. The storm outside roared again, and in the silence that followed, Rook let out a low, uneasy growl. Fog hung over Westbridge when Rowan and Adrian stepped out of the cab on Alderwick Lane. The city looked blurred, but the townhouse in front of them was sharp and exact. Victor Harland's address. Rowan rang. After a pause, the door opened on a tall man in his early 60s, silver hair neat, charcoal suit precise. His gaze went from Rowan's badge to Adrian's ID, then back again. "Detective Hale, Dr. Mercer," he said. "Inspector Ellery warned me. Come in." Inside, the place was a private gallery. Glass cases, porcelain, coins arranged with careful distance. Where Bernard Locke's shop had felt alive, this felt staged. "You and Locke started together," Rowan said. "Last night he was killed. His collection is gone. We need to know who might have known enough to take both." Harland poured himself whiskey. "Bernard and I argued ourselves out of a business 30 years ago," he replied. "He wanted to hoard, I wanted to sell. We split. I built this. He built his stories." "No leftover hate?" Adrian asked. "I have better hobbies." Rowan's attention slid to a coat stand near the door, hanging there, a gray herringbone overcoat. Same pattern the lab pulled from the torn scrap behind Locke's display case. Sharp coat, Rowan said. Harlan's mouth tightened. Custom work. The guild's board is full of them. You'll need more than fabric to hang me. Where were you between 8 and midnight yesterday? Rowan asked. At the guild's winter reception, Harlan answered. Arrived before 8, left 11, cameras and witnesses. We'll check. Adrian drifted to a glass cabinet by the fireplace. A gold brooch with a ring of green stones caught his eye. Rowan, he said, this looked familiar. It did. The design matched Evelyn Locke's description from the night before almost exactly. A Regency brooch her uncle treated like the crown of his collection. Harlan saw their faces. That came from a Devon estate sale. Legal. Documented. Evelyn thought her uncle's brooch was unique, Rowan replied. If she's right, either someone copied it or someone is lying about its path. Before Harlan could answer, Rowan's phone buzzed. He put the call on speaker. Hale, Rowan, it's Carter at the shop, came the scene tech's voice. We processed the safe. Prints on the inner lip, not Locke, not the niece. They match an old file. Name, Elias Rennick. Adrian straightened. That name again. Rowan looked at Harlan. You know him. Harlan hesitated, then nodded. Rennick was a trader we used when Bernard and I were still partners, he said. He swore Bernard cheated him on a deal. Threats, letters. Then he vanished. I assumed debt or prison ended it. Well, his fingerprints are inside Locke's private safe, Adrian said. Harlan set his glass down. If Elias Rennick is back in Westbridge, you have your motive. He can carry a grudge longer than most people carry a job. Rowan didn't answer. In his head, the lines shifted again. Bernard, Evelyn, Harlan, a stolen collection, a trader dragged out of the past by a set of prints. And in the middle of it, a silver cat that had already led them to one truth and wasn't done. The briefing room at Westbridge Station was all board and string now. In the center, Bernard Locke. Beside him, Victor Harlan. Below them, a new mugshot in gray, Elias Rennick. Small-time appraiser, D.I. Ellery said. Accused Locke of cheating him on a big sale years ago. Complaints, shouting, no charges. Then he vanished. Rowan looked at the tired, angry face. And now his prints are in Locke's safe. Partial on the inner rim, Ellery said. The safe went in long after their fallout. If his hand was there, it was recent. Adrian folded his arms. So we have a grudge and a hand inside the vault. Down in the lab, the torn scrap from behind the display case lay under bright light. Handmade wool, the text said. Tailored coat, herringbone pattern. Like Harlan's, Adrian muttered. Rowan shook his head. Harlan wouldn't leave his own fabric at a murder scene. Too obvious, feels planted. So someone wants him in the frame, Ellery said. A chime sounded on the computer. The tech turned his monitor. One usable clip from the wiped CCTV, he said. Rear entrance, early evening. Grainy video appeared. Rain across the lens, a tall figure walking toward the back door, collar up. Freeze, Rowan said. Zoom the collar. A small metal badge came into focus. A stylized ship in a wreath. Adrian frowned. Brighton Antiquarian Association, right? Rowan nodded. Membership crest. Evelyn mentioned a buyer from Brighton who pushed hard for the private collection. Thomas Redgrave. Ellery scribbled the name. So now we have Rennick with motive, Harlan with a matching piece, and a Brighton member at the back door. Rowan's phone vibrated. Evelyn, he answered. What's wrong? I'm at the shop, she said, voice tight. Rook keeps pacing the back hallway. He's scratching one spot in the floorboards like there's something under it. He won't stop. Don't move anything, Rowan said. We're coming now. On the way out, Adrian shook his head. We're letting a cat set our priorities. Show me another witness who finds hidden compartments, Rowan replied. 15 minutes later, they stepped into Locke and Ledger. Rain had turned to mist. Evelyn waited by the counter. He's back there, she said. Rook ran ahead down the narrow corridor and stopped over a seam between two boards, claws digging in. Rowan knelt. One board rocked under his fingers. Loose, Adrian said. Rowan pried it up with a screwdriver from a nearby tray. A shallow gap underneath held a small bundle wrapped in wax paper. Evelyn stared. I never knew that space existed. Rowan unwrapped the bundle. Inside lay a ring. Heavy gold, one dark red stone. On the inside of the band, a tiny stamped symbol. Adrian leaned closer. Same maker's mark as Harlan's brooch. So Locke and Harlan each had pieces from the same set, Rowan said. Whoever wants the full collection is hunting across both their lives. He sealed the ring in an evidence bag. Rook hissed, fur standing up, eyes fixed on the frosted rear door. All three turned. A blurred shape stood outside the glass, watching. Then it slipped away into the fog, leaving the door rattling in silence. Rowan didn't waste a second. "Back door," he said, already moving. Ellery, Adrian, and Evelyn followed. By the time they pushed into the alley, the watcher was gone, leaving only fog and wet brick. The space behind Locke and Ledger was a narrow channel boxed in by dumpsters. Light from the main road smeared the mist. "He had two directions," Adrian said. "Market or river." "Market swallows faces," Ellery replied. "If he reached it, we've lost him." Rowan looked up at a small camera over the rear door, droplets clinging to the lens. "Maybe," he said, "maybe not." Back inside, the tech scrubbed the alley feed. Static, distortion, then a tall figure cut across the frame for 3 seconds. Long coat. Brighton antiquarian crest at the collar. Distinct profile. "Redgrave," Rowan said. "Our polite buyer likes back entrances." Ellery nodded. "We traced him. Registered at the Halcyon Hotel 2 nights ago. Paid cash. No checkout." "So we knock," Adrian said. The Halcyon was glossed downstairs and tired upstairs. The manager recognized the photo. "Room 714, she said. "Quiet man, business type." Outside 714, Ellery led the approach. Rowan listened. Just air conditioning. They knocked, identified themselves, waited. Nothing. Maintenance opened with a card. Inside, one open suitcase, neat shirts, shoes lined up. No occupant. On the desk, a laptop, a printed catalog of lock auctions, and a stuffed folder. Rowan opened it. Old clippings stared back. Young Locke and Harlan at a shop opening. Elias Rennick beside them in another shot. Headlines about valuation dispute and no charges filed. "Redgrave did research," Adrian said. "He walked into this with a dossier." Ellery flipped through a second stack. "Bank transfers from a Brighton account to a shell company here." Her finger stopped. "Recipient, E. Rennick." "So Redgrave is financing Locke's old enemy," Rowan said. "Money on one side, resentment on the other." "Rennick gives him safe habits, codes, floor plans," Adrian added. "Redgrave gets the jewels, Rennick gets revenge." "Unless one tries to cut the other out," Rowan said. On the desk, a hotel notepad sat with the top sheet torn away. The page beneath was indented. Rowan shaded gently with the side of a pencil until letters appeared. "Dockrow Lane, Utwelve." Adrian exhaled. "Warehouse strip by the river. Half empty, barely patrolled." "Good place for a handoff or a hideout," Ellery said. Rowan tore off the page and slid it into an evidence bag. "If Redgrave and Rennick are still here, Dockrow Lane is where they feel safe," he said. "If they've moved on, it's where they left something they couldn't carry." "Greed and grudges always leak somewhere," Adrian said. Rowan nodded. "This looks like the leak." Rook wasn't there to scratch at floorboards this time. But the line from Locke's safe, to Redgrave's hotel, to a forgotten warehouse by the river was clear enough that even a cat wouldn't miss it. For the first time since the storm began, Rowan felt the net tightening around real suspects instead of shadows on a board. Dockrow Lane sat on the edge of the river like a forgotten thought. Half the warehouses were abandoned, the rest leased by small import firms who preferred not to be asked questions. Fog rolled off the water in slow sheets, swallowing sound and distance alike. Rowan, Adrian, and D.I. Ellery moved along the cracked pavement, their footsteps soft in the mist. Unit 12 stood ahead, metal siding rusted, one security light flickering weakly. "No movement," Ellery whispered. "Too quiet," Adrian murmured. Rowan stepped closer to the door, examining the lock. Scrapes along the metal. "Fresh." "They're inside," he said. Ellery signaled her team, and 2 uniformed officers flanked the building. Rowan pushed the door slowly, letting it creak inward. The interior smelled of dust, damp rope, and old shipping crates. A single hanging bulb flickered above, barely illuminating the space. At the far end stood a folding table covered in papers, tools, and velvet-lined cases, and on top of one case sat a brooch Locke's missing sunburst piece. Adrian exhaled. So this is where they staged the split of the collection. Ellery stepped ahead, scanning corners. Redgrave, Rennick, step out where we can see you. Only the hum of the bulb answered. Rowan approached the table. Look at this, he said, tapping a ledger. Inside were itemized lists of jewels, sketches, and projected sale routes across private collectors from Lisbon to Dubai. Redgrave was planning to move the full set offshore, Adrian said. Fast, clean, untraceable. And Rennick gave him the access he needed, Rowan added. On the next page, handwritten numbers formed a short sequence, 2-7-4-1. Adrian blinked. That's Locke's safe combination. Before they could examine further, a clatter echoed from the mezzanine above, metal on metal, too sharp to be accidental. Ellery raised her weapon. Hands where we can see them. A figure stepped into the faint light overhead. Gaunt, stubbled, eyes burning with something old and bitter. Elias Rennick. It's over, Rowan called. Come down, slowly. Rennick laughed, a rasp more than sound. Over, Locke stole my life. You think handing myself in fixes 30 years? You helped murder a man, Adrian said. And for what? Redgrave's money, Rennick's jaw clenched. Redgrave was my chance to finish what Locke started. I gave him the codes, the history, everything. But he got greedy, wanted the whole set, thought he could cut me out. Where is he now? Ellery demanded. Rennick's eyes flicked toward the back of the warehouse, a split-second tell he couldn't suppress. Rowan caught it. Ellery, rear exit, the team sprinted. Rennick hurled a crate from the mezzanine, forcing Rowan to dodge. In the chaos, Rennick bolted down the narrow metal stairs, disappearing into the rows of crates. Adrian went after him. Rowan and Ellery rushed toward the rear. The back door hung open, swinging in the cold wind. Tire tracks cut through the dirt. Redgrave's gone, Ellery muttered. Minutes ahead. Rowan looked around and spotted something glinting in the gravel, a silver collar pin, Brighton antiquarian emblem. Dropped in a hurry, Rowan said. He's running scared. Ellery stepped back inside, shouting toward Adrian, status on Rennick. Adrian emerged from behind the crates, breath sharp. He slipped through another side door. He knows these buildings. He'll vanish into the docks if we don't move now. Rowan scanned the ledger again, noticing a torn corner of paper folded beneath it. He pulled it free. Coordinates. A meeting point at the far end of the riverfront. Midnight. Adrian frowned. A handoff, or an escape pickup, Rowan said. Redgrave won't flee on foot. He'll want a clean route out, water or road. Ellery pocketed the slip. We stake it out. All exits, all angles, Rowan nodded. And this time we finish it. Behind them, the warehouse bulb flickered again. Once, twice, then steadied, casting long shadows across the crates. The game was no longer between ghosts. They finally had their suspects cornered, and both men knew it. Midnight draped the riverfront in silver and shadow. Dock cranes loomed like steel skeletons, their silhouettes cutting through the fog as water slapped quietly against the pylons. Rowan, Adrian, and Ellery moved into position near the abandoned loading pier marked by the coordinates. This is the point, Ellery whispered. Redgrave meets his exit here. Rowan scanned the darkness. He'll come fast. He'll want the handoff clean. Adrian pointed toward faint headlights approaching from the service road. Incoming. A black sedan crawled toward the pier, engine low, lights off as it neared the water. The driver stepped out, Thomas Redgrave, taller than he appeared on CCTV, sharp features tight with urgency. He clutched a heavy duffel bag like it was glued to his hand. The rest of Locke's collection. Rowan stepped from cover. Redgrave, end of the line. Redgrave spun, startled, then steadied himself. Detective Hale, you're late. I almost left. Ellery raised her weapon. Drop the bag. Not a chance, he replied. Do you know what this set is worth? What collectors overseas would pay? Locke never understood value. And Rennick, Rowan asked. Used him, paid him, planned to ditch him the moment you had the jewels. Redgrave smirked. He thought revenge mattered. Money always wins. A clatter cut through the fog, someone stumbling near the containers. Rennick emerged, limping, soaked, face twisted with rage. "You were going to leave me," he hissed. "After everything I gave you." Redgrave's jaw clenched. "You were a tool, Elias, and tools wear out." Rennick lunged. Redgrave pulled a gun. Rowan moved first, shoving Adrian aside as Redgrave fired. The bullet ricocheted off a metal beam. Ellery returned fire, forcing Redgrave behind the sedan. Rennick dove for the duffel, dragging it toward the pier's edge. "If I can't have it, no one can," Rowan sprinted. Fog swallowed the distance, but he reached Rennick just as the man swung the bag toward the water. Rowan grabbed it, wrenching it free as Rennick lost his balance, stumbling backward onto the slick boards. Redgrave fired again. Ellery took him down with a clean shoulder shot. He collapsed, howling. Adrian rushed to Rowan, who still held the duffel. Rennick lay on the pier, breathing but beaten, years of bitterness leaking out in heavy gasps. "It was supposed to fix everything," Rennick whispered. "No collection fixes a ruined life," Rowan said quietly. Ellery cuffed Redgrave while officers swarmed in from the perimeter. The fog thinned as flashing lights lit the pier in red and blue. Rowan opened the duffel. The full set gleamed inside, untouched, a history reclaimed. Back at the precinct, Evelyn arrived with Rook in her arms. The silver tabby leapt onto the table, circling the recovered jewels as if checking inventory. "He really did help crack the case," Adrian said. Evelyn smiled through tired eyes. "Uncle Bernard always said Rook saw what others missed." Rowan zipped the evidence bags. "Your uncle hid these pieces because he feared what greed could reshape." "He was right," Evelyn exhaled. "What happens now?" "His collection goes where he meant it to go," Ellery said. "Protected, preserved." Later, as dawn crept over Westbridge, Rowan and Adrian stood outside the precinct, watching the city wake. "Another one closed," Adrian said. Rowan nodded. "But not the last. There's always another shadow in this town." Adrian smirked. "And probably another cat who knows more than we do." Rowan almost smiled. "Wouldn't surprise me." The river glimmered in the morning light, carrying away the night's fog, secrets, and old grudges left behind on Dockrow Lane. Thank you for watching this story on Inspector Vale. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and drop a like. It truly helps the channel grow. What do you think? Was Rook just lucky, or did he understand more than anyone realized? Share your take in the comments.